If I were to announce to my ministerial colleagues that I am about to voluntarily introduce the candles of joys and concerns to my congregation during worship service on Sunday morning, a few would say, "Good for you." More would say, "Really? Oh, good luck with that." And even more would say, "What, are you nuts inviting trouble into your life?" But I am not talking to my colleagues this morning. I am talking to you. About 10 months ago, I sat with your ministerial search committee, and we talked about a lot of things. Part of the process was an intensive 3.5-hour interview. We talked at length about having the children being in the sanctuary on Sunday morning. Your committee was ever so cautious not to speak in absolutes. They were always mindful that they were speaking on behalf of every single one of you. But for me, having children in the sanctuary every Sunday morning was really the only way I could envision it. They are this congregation's future. In so many ways, our children are our future. I will say it over and over again, they are our future. But when the interview briefly touched over the issues of joys and concerns, it was as if, and strictly speaking from my point of view, as if we began a game of poker, or even a game of chicken. I did not get a strong sense either way. I did get pretty strongly that there was a sense that these pesky candles could wreak havoc on an otherwise perfectly good worship service. Or in other words, "Colleen, if it's not broken, please just don't try and fix it." The next day, we set out nice and early and we drove to Portage for the candidating service. Portage has the candles of joys and concerns, and about halfway through the service, I stepped aside and they went about the candle lighting. Quite a number of folks got up to light candles, and then this young mother got up and spoke eloquently about her young daughter finding the courage to move beyond her shyness and to take on selling Girl Scout cookies to all the neighbors. The mother spoke sweetly, with pride about her daughter trying and about her daughter reaching beyond her comfort zone. I must say, I sat there rather smugly, and I actually turned towards Kate as if to say, "See, these candles can be quite powerful." I even raised one eyebrow. I was so sure of myself. Then another mother got right up and she said, "Hey, my daughter's selling cookies for her scout troop too, and she's about to win a trip to Disney World. So please see me at coffee hour to buy as many boxes as you can." Okay, so sheepishly I looked a quick glance over to Kate, and now she was the one with one eyebrow raised. Point made, point well taken. A few hours later, I found myself sitting in Gerald Ford Airport thinking about 3 things. One, I could totally see myself moving to Grand Rapids. 2, I was definitely bringing the children into the sanctuary every single Sunday morning. And 3, I was never ever going to bring up those pesky candles of joys and concerns. So what has changed? Well, primarily, I have gotten to know you better. I have been watching, and I have been listening, and I have been taking it all in. And something started to stand out. I was hearing a common thread. It started during the water communion service, our first service together. Most of you came up to me and told me how much you enjoyed hearing what each other had to say, why the water held such meaning to you. Then during the Day of the Dead ceremony, I heard it again. You said you found it moving to hear about people who have been loved and lost, and that you learned something about each other that you would otherwise never get a chance to learn. I even heard this common thread repeated during the hymn sing. I wasn't even there. But you liked learning what hymns were held special meaning to each other. And you enjoyed learning from each other. And finally, last week when I invited you to light a candle of hope, an overwhelming number of you came forward. It was a moment of reverence to see that much hope. There was so much hope. And it was powerful. And you are the ones who made that moment powerful. Not me. You. You are a gathered community. And get this, you actually like each other. And in fact, you actually care for each other, and you care deeply for one another. This is your greatest quality. But where in the worship service do you get a chance to share your lives with one another? Where? The answer is nowhere. There is no time in our worship service where you get to share your joys or your sorrows with one another. Sure, there's always a few minutes in coffee hour, but that's different. I am talking about in worship, like in a prayerful way. I'm talking about a moment of reverence, quietly, in a mindful way, when what you are holding, that is so important to you in that moment. And for just a few seconds, you are asking others to hold that moment with you. Of course, you can always tell me to lift up something during the prayer. I am honored to hold your prayers with you and for you. I'm honored. But there's something quite powerful and even more powerful when it is spoken by the person living it out in that moment right in front of us. There's also something else I feel like I need to say. I need to speak the truth here. It saddens me that without offering the candles of joys and concerns in our worship, you are left with the ever-popular Facebook to post your milestones of your life. Since my arrival, I have seen many joys and concerns celebrated on the pages of Facebook, many joys, and I've seen many concerns. I've also seen members of All Souls respond with compassion and care. Do you see? You're already doing this, but you're doing it out there, but not in here. Don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of Facebook. It documents life unfolding. There's something special about it. Facebook helps people to stay connected. But Facebook is a cyber community where All Souls is real and human. We don't post about our lives here at All Souls. We actually go about living them, right here together in community. Reverend Hall from this morning's reading says, our candle lighting is one of the most important ingredients to our congregation. Not only during Sunday service, but it is the glue that holds us together. It is the spirit that unites us. He goes on to say that when a community understands what it is about and develops a culture of candle lighting, it enhances the service in ways like no other single ingredient. So for all of these reasons, I am willing to at least give it a try. So now let me go back to this morning's call to worship. You know my little joke about My job is to talk, and your job is to listen, and if you finish your job before I finish my job, please let me know. You remember that, right? Okay, they're listening. When Reverend Knight told me that joke, I laughed because I thought it was funny. But then he put his hand on my shoulder and he said to me, "Colleen, I hope you get its full meaning." Now, it took me a while to realize what my senior colleague was trying to tell me, but he was telling me something very important. And that is to never forget that people are listening to whatever you are saying. They are giving you a generous gift of their time and of their attention. Do not ever forget it is a gift. Do not ever disrespect it, or your job will be done. Good advice. I think really ultimately where the candles of joys and concerns can wreak havoc is that the person speaking has forgotten that there are also so many people listening. In fact, it is the listening that is equally important, if not more powerful, than the speaking. It is really about an issue of respect. The congregation respectfully offers the speaker their attention, and in return, the speaker must respond with at least the same amount of respect. So, I have some ground rules. That's right, we're going to have some ground rules about doing candles of joys and concerns. Ground rule number 1, and it pertains to the minister. I promise to make it easy for you to light candles. So often I have seen ministers put out only 2 candles or jerry-rig some difficult candle lighting method so they can discreetly discourage people from getting up. It is controlling to do that, and I have far too much respect for you to do that. It will be easy. Second rule, which also pertains to the minister. Who wrote these rules anyway? I promise not to hover or stand with my hand ready to shut off the microphone. Again, I have far too much respect for you to do that. The third rule pertains to the microphone. Okay, finally we're getting off the minister. Please use the microphone. It is a welcoming gesture. We have many people who are hearing me and will be hearing you through hearing devices. Please do not touch this foamy part of the microphone. It is annoying to those people listening with hearing devices. Did everybody hear me on that one? Fourth rule, the candles. Place the lit candle in the center of the sand and work your way out. Last week, people were burning themselves to light the candles. Now, I highly doubt, I can only hope, that we don't have 50 people lighting candles every week. Safety first. Start in the middle and work your way out. Fifth rule, this is important. Do not worry about what the person said before you, and here's my example. A man stood up once and lit a candle, and he talked about finally taking some responsibility for his life, and that his older brother had always taken responsibility and care of him. But his older brother now became very ill, and so he was now not only taking responsibility for his own life, but he began to take responsibility for his older brother. The man was weeping. The next candle got lit by a little girl. She told everybody, and I might add quite proudly, "I lost my front tooth this morning." And then she ended by saying, "It was my incisor." This is how life is. We live our joys and our concerns right along with each other. Life is an ebb and flow. We need to hold the balance. So don't worry about what the person before you has said. And finally, the final rule, and the most important, is what you say. What you say should be personal. Please, not political. This is not a place for announcements. This will actually be part of our prayer. In the coming weeks, we will put this in part of the prayer. This is not a place for random thoughts or new concepts. It's a time of prayer and a time of joy. And most importantly, speak from your heart. For it to be personal, it has to come from your heart. This is part of how we pray together. So we'll do this in a couple of ways. There's several ways it'll happen. To begin, during our worship service, I have asked you to come into the sanctuary early. Don't wait for me. Settle in. You'll get to hear the music better, I guarantee it. But also, there'll be a time for you to come forward and light candles in silence. These candles are going to burn during our service. I'm also going to have index cards placed there with a pen for you to write down your joys and concerns. And then I'll leave my hymnal there, and you just leave them on top of my hymnal, and I will include them in the pastoral prayer. Please print and use simple words. Remember, you are dealing with a dyslexic. I can easily turn your dog into a god. Please include your name. Then during the service, when we begin a time of prayer, you'll have an invitation to come forward and light a candle of joy and concern. I'm going to set it up so that you light your candle first, and then you'll take a few steps to the microphone, and then you'll speak the words. I've learned if I put the microphone too close to the candles, you start multitasking, and I'm not going to have anybody lighting microphones and speaking into candles. Light first, speak second. We will follow this by the pastoral prayer, our moment of silence, and our musical response. So now, if I've made that so incredibly inviting for you and haven't scared the pants off you, I actually would like to invite those brave souls who dare to go where no one has gone before and light a candle of your joys or concerns. Amen.